Hey, so I've been thinking about the concept of karma for a lot of years. And just like any other person who grows up in their natural environment, I used to believe that karma was a sense of reward or punishment or a form of justice that is imposed on us. And of course, I was limited in my understanding. But as you grow older, as you meet more people, as you go through more experiences, your perspective shifts a lot. Something that you thought you understood starts becoming an entirely different concept. And you start viewing reality in multiple dimensions. So I am really interested in theoretical physics, the idea of parallel universes, quantum entanglement, time and space, and how to actually transcend space and time. But of course, that's an entirely different topic. However, I think all of these concepts in physics are deeply related to our spiritual understanding of human beings. Like they say, whatever happens in the macrocosm happens in the microcosm and vice versa. So I am actually going to read this, whatever I wrote about karma, because I have a habit of going off tangents and I don't want to do that to this topic because I think this topic is really important and it should be discussed in a way that shows respect to it. I'll begin with a quote, and that says, "A woman can will what she wants, but she cannot will what she wills." So we can choose to want something or get what we want, but that choice of our desire is not so much in our control. All of us are motivated by our deepest desires, wishes, and fantasies in life. All of our actions and choices are dictated by these innate desires. We often don't understand the reason behind these desires, but we feel them to be such powerful forces that they ought not to be resisted. We feel like they represent a sort of calling that we must follow. However, the truth, of course, is much darker in nature. We feel like if only we succeed in fulfilling these deep and passionate desires, we will, in a way, win in life. This is, of course, nothing but an infantile fantasy. In psychoanalytic literature, this deep, unmoving passion arises in us whenever we are confronted with the reality of who we are and what we are doing to ourselves, our soul, and our life in general. This passion is supposed to be a cause of change in our thinking, our decision making, and our attitude towards life in general. However, since we are infallible since we are fallible beings, we always end up relating it to our base or animal instincts. For instance, if I was a naturally repressed and inhibited person who stopped expressing herself creatively and focused on materialistic objectives, I'd be naturally attracted to spirited people who are animated in their behavior and they are so full of life that they actually end up causing glitches in the matrix because if everyone around them is similar to each other, they're all conforming to the same standards, and one person is acting and behaving in a completely different manner, they're seen as a deformity, even though the disease and illness actually exists in the collective circle, not in the individual. Because the individual is trying to break away from that circle and not be a part of it. That person throughout ancient history was considered to be a shaman or a healer. But today, we think they are insane losers, which of course is not true. People who express their individuality might not succeed in terms of whatever our society thinks is success, but they end up resolving a lot of these mental illnesses and disorders that exist in a collective society, in people who do not think about their actions and the consequences of their actions, not only on their own life, but the suffering that their actions are causing on everyone around them, because they're so obsessed with the idea of success. And people who are individualistic are not. And it's such a tragedy that people who don't think that succeeding in terms of cultural success is a great way to spend your life, and they're actually exploring what living a life actually means, are considered to be crazy in a way. I think that's a real travesty that happens in our culture, especially. So this attraction that I was talking about, this attraction that requires instant gratification in us, causes us to make harmful choices in the desire of possession of such a person. However, in psychotherapy, it is actually considered nothing but a resistance towards owning your own spirited nature. So, the more we cling to such a person, or to the desire of owning or controlling or forcing or possessing such a person for, of course, gratification, ironically, the more we actually move away from actual attainment of happiness. Most of us coming from religious or cultural upbringing believe that karma is something that happens to us, a divine punishment, God's revenge, heaven or hell. In reality, karma isn't something that happens to us. Karma is who we are as people. Karma is the thoughts we choose to think, the choices we make, the actions we perform every day. Most of these occur due to our fixation on the object of our lust. So, this lust that we feel is directed towards a certain person is actually a kind of lust that we feel towards living a life, a full life. If we lack life, we choose to leech it off of people who represent life in all of its fullness. Through this course, we cause unlimited suffering to not only other people, but to our own selves as well. Just because we can't let go of what we think we want, which is, of course, not in our best interest, because we are imperfect beings who do not always know what's best for us. A lot of people, bound by this insane attraction, choose to destroy the objects of their affection, because they feel like if the person or a lifestyle is destroyed, they would finally be free. They won't have to feel that attraction anymore if the object of the attraction is actually destroyed, of course. Although in reality, they end up destroying their own chances of healing and of redemption. I think we underrate redemption because it causes an insult to our ego. In the end, we find that it is our ego that is our own downfall, and not some celestial deity. If we treat other people as if they're not human, it is only natural to assume that we treat ourselves, our own selves, in the same manner, pushing ourselves to material success as if our body is a slave of our ego. If you're familiar with Sigmund Freud's works, you will understand how ego is constructed of the expectations of our parents, our culture, and our peers. Sometimes we get these ideas so deeply ingrained in us that our authentic self feels like it is locked in a dreary basement, terrorized by our ego. When we choose this life path, we are forever terrorized by the images and voices of these dictators that raised us. It is pathologized to a degree where we actually end up becoming our parents. So we choose to repeat their actions. We think whatever our parents used to think. We see ourselves in the way that our parents saw us. We treat other people the way our parents or society treated us, because we are justifying that our parents still loved us after all, even if they were horrible and even if they mistreated us to the point of abuse. In the end, it all comes down to our ability to accept that sometimes fate deals you a bad hand, but our fate or destiny depends on us making different choices than our parents. If we don't, we end up becoming our own worst nightmare. Our minds become our very own personal hells that are filled with emotions like envy, resentment, competition, and greed. When we accumulate these emotions and don't work on them, they become Satan like figures in our heads, always tormenting us. And that, in my opinion, is karma. I hope that if anyone ever in eons of time watches this, it helps them a little bit and they choose to act differently this time.